everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play of Tyranny. Last episode, we did a bit of walking around the bastard's wound here. Spoke with a couple people we found, including a couple disfavored who are here, one of whom is kinda strung up because, well, it's easier on her morality and all. Now, we've walked up to Jaspos here and, well, he's the last person we have to talk to, so let's talk to him. A heavily muscled man stands next to a mixed pile of broken floor tiles and smashed boulders. Head bent in focus, sledgehammer gripped tightly in both hands. Without breaking his gaze, he calmly extends an arm out as you approach, signaling for you to wait. In one smooth motion, he whirls the sledgehammer in a precise arc, effortlessly splitting a large green-gray boulder in two. He smiles and lets out a pleased chuckle before turning to greet you.
Ah, Fatebinder. Or should I say Governor? That explains all the ruckus I've been hearing.
His voice is deep, a confident baritone that easily carries through the open air.
Forgive my rudeness. Masters of the craft rarely break focus if we can help it. Old habit.
He smiles broadly, motioning you to come forward.
Your arrival is unexpected, but my forge is always open to servants of the court. What can I do for you? Word is spread throughout the wound. They say the Fatebinder will permit us to live. I am sorry you had to experience Wagstaff. If you had spoken to me, we could have settled things without his insults and tantrums, but I am glad an amicable decision was reached all the same. The wound could be a great asset to you in the future, Fatebinder. We've managed well enough on our own, but someone of your prestige could really help us thrive. If you've the time, I have a matter that could benefit from your expertise.
You may ask, but I make no promises.
We don't have the luxury of trading with the top side. It could attract the wrong kinds of attention. Instead, we craft what we need. In my case, I can make a wide variety of tools, but I can't make everything. When we were building the forges of Lethian's Crossing, I had access to some of the finest chisels, tappers, and abrasives. I carried only my travel kit with me when I found myself here in the wound. I've been able to craft a few replacements, but to my chagrin, I haven't recaptured the craftsmanship. The napping tools needed are rather specialized, and I lose sleep knowing I can't replace anything I break. Since I've been missing, I imagine my tools were appropriated by my colleagues in Lethian's Crossing. Lohara will no doubt know of their whereabouts. With my old tools, I could really stay on top of the work that's needed to keep this place running.
My help rarely comes free.
Nor should it. Your time is valuable. I have little use for rings down here. I would pay you in advance for your work. All the bronze I have, hardly a fortune, but I'll make things worth your time.
Rings don't interest me. Teach me something. That would be a better deal.
It would take a lifetime to teach you what I know, but who am I to reject a seeker of knowledge? Tell you what, if you can help me out, I'll happily take time out of my days and see how good a student you are. The napping tools needed are rather specialized, and I lose sleep knowing I can't replace anything I break. Since I've been missing... Oh, same thing.
I will speak with Lohara.
I'm sure this will be a simple matter to you, Fatebinder. Thank you for your assistance. Was there something else you needed?
Here's all the conversation. What do you do here as one of the wound's leaders?
I don't look the part, I know. Most of my guild huddle by the heat of their forges and stick to themselves. Here, I think of my forge more as a hearth. Everyone is invited to share in its warmth.
In a practiced motion, he unfastens a rag looped around his belt and wipes off trace amounts of sweat from his already spotless brow.
Perhaps that's better? Obviously, I work the forge. In a place like this, that means everything. Those bridges you see? My handiwork. The knives and weapons everyone's carrying? They came from my forge. The nails holding our containers together and keeping our shelters upright? Mine again. But most importantly, I created those stone sieves to clean the water.
He pats one of the open stone receptacles, pride evident in his voice.
First of its kind, and none too soon. When I came here, many were sick with the withering rot. The disease is in the water. It's a terrible way to go. But these sieves change things.
How do the stone sieves work?
Trade secrets, I'm afraid.
He pauses for dramatic effect.
Except from members of the court. It's really a matter of using the right combination of enchanted stones, pulverized charcoal, and a few precious stones in a precise arrangement. These materials act as the sieve in these containers. He points towards the base of one of them, drawing your attention to water dripping out of a small opening and into a collecting bowl. Anything that comes out of there is free of the disease. Now, this place isn't exactly bursting with precious stones, so I had to devise a substitute. Beastmen claws and teeth, when properly prepared, have the properties I need. Since they regrow over time, I've been able to collect donations from our many warriors. I do prefer using stone whenever possible, though.
What does a master of napping do?
Ah, and I shall tell you.
He places a hand upon his belt and runs his finger across the many hammers, chisels, and picks draped across his waist, stopping at a simple stone hammer.
Masters of napping focus on the fundamentals of all forge work. Before you can make bronze and iron, you need a hot fire and a controlled space. You need a stone forge.
He grips his belt firmly, puffing out his chest slightly as he speaks.
Give me a few days, and I can take a pile of rocks and fashion proper stone hammers and tools. Give me a few weeks, and I can use those tools to build a worthy forge. And with that forge, I can create anything you'd ever need. Stonework is the purest form of our craft. Civilization could be reduced to ashes, and a master of napping would be the one to reforge it.
Tell me about the Tidecaster Wagstaff.
You should know that Wagstaff and I aren't on the best terms. He's old and set in his ways. I've tried, believe me. I've reached out, invited him to share my fire and talk like men, but he's the sort that prefers his own company and ideas. He doesn't seem to care about people the way I do. In fact, I think he views us as irritants one must endure.
That sounds like the Wagstaff I remember. Apologies for what you must be going through.
He does help the wound, I'll grant him that, cleansing water with his magic. His methods are different than mine, of course, far slower. He thinks his contributions are more valuable since they can combat disease. A valuable tool, for certain. But without the volume of water produced from my stone sieves, the settlement would die in a span. In the end, he just refuses to accept that his role has changed. He helped the wound get its bearings years ago, but being the first does not make one qualified to lead. He hates that people have responded to me and has been blinded by that.
What do you know about Reef Talon? He holds a bowl of crushed rock aloft, squinting to examine its contents as he speaks.
So you've heard. It's unfortunate what happened to her. Reef Talon arrived a year after I did. Massive creature, one of the largest beasts I've ever seen. She never spoke of her past much, but we knew she was in flight when she stumbled upon the wound with her cubs.
He pulls a fragment out of the bowl, running it slowly between his fingers.
Whatever she fled from, it didn't stop her from devouring the bane. She was good at it, good enough to lead the beastmen. But Reef Talon had something else far more important. She could heal others with a mere touch. Didn't matter if you had been raked by the bane or fell on your own sword, she could close up your wounds and send you on your way like nothing ever happened.
That is no ordinary magic. How did she do this?
I don't think she knew herself. She wasn't a student of her craft, not even using beastmen mystics as a standard. What I do here, that's not an accident. It's years of controlled study and meticulous perfection. Reef Talon simply acted on instinct, and that didn't work to anyone's benefit.
With a dissatisfied shake of the head, he flicks the unwanted chip into the water.
Sometimes we're better off without such miracles. Those Reef Talon healed slowly became sick. It was impossible for them to sleep, even when exhausted, and the relentless waking drove them mad. The affliction takes a while to fully take hold, but the end result is always the same. Even worse, those bestowed with magic slowly lose their gifts. He looks towards the forge, a pained expression visible on his face. Now they're just known as the Sleepless. All of their life and vitality robbed and spent. A terrible end, Fatebinder. Reef Talon couldn't face her mistakes, and she fled into the old walls, like a coward.
He circles around the platform, speaking as much to passers-by as to you.
And to think that many here saw her as a leader. What leader runs in the face of adversity? Those of us that remain, we are the ones that continue to hold up Bastard's wound. I toil every day to keep the fires in my forge running, and the people can see who they can truly rely upon.
Nearby onlookers shout and pump their fists in support, eliciting a raised fist from the forge-bound master in return. How do you deal with the Bane? In case you haven't noticed, the beastmen with us aren't your common feral savages. Something about this place focuses them. Whether they come as our workers or on their own, they all eventually become fixated on the Bane. I've seen some hunched over guarding our portals for hours. If any Bane come through, they'd savage them instantly. But apart from the Bane, our beastmen aren't violent. Strange, but welcome. He scratches his chin in thought. I have no explanation. We never asked the beastmen to act as our sentries. They took it on naturally and have never complained. We do lose some to injury, but so far their defense has worked. Do you think you could free my friend from his armor? Purely from an artisan's perspective, I must say that this is the most fascinatingly bizarre creation I've ever seen. He cocks an eyebrow, regarding your ally with genuine curiosity. I mean, how do you even relieve yourself? Now, I can detect a cross-face even behind a visor. I merely jest. Unable to mask his amusement, Jaspos breaks into a hearty laugh, stopping only to clear his throat. You jest! I am legitimately curious. He's been stuck in that for years. How the hell does he relieve himself? Or eat? At any rate, fanciful artistry of this order is sadly beyond my expertise. Anything I forge here will be of the more functional variety. Then who would you recommend? Of all the armorers in the tiers, I can think of none better for this task than the master of the forge herself, Zedenya. But securing her time is a challenge worthy of an Archon, so I'd recommend seeking out Master Lahara instead at Lethian's Crossing. Pounding obstinate metals and persons is her specialty. And if I require someone less beholden to the laws of the Overlord? Barrack simply covers his eyes with his palm and shakes his head. I do happen to believe that my guild secures the best talent, though I should temper my favoritism somewhat, given where we're standing right now. Jaspos rubs his chin. I do recall hearing some praise showered upon a magesmith in Halfgate. Other members of my order had intended to investigate. Perhaps your answer lies there. Thank you, Master Jaspos. You're most welcome, Fatebinder. He smiles broadly. Farewell. Safe journeys, Fatebinder. Okay, so we now have a direction there. It looks like the only other thing we can do is head to the farms. Oh, written down here. Oh, we have a few things that we can speak to there. Fine. Still need to go investigate the farms. Let me save before we run in there, because I don't know what we'll find. Alright, things are saved. Let's go investigate the farms. We have something that'll happen in there, I think. Something we'll need to find. For Lantry, I mean.
I think I found something.
Oh, good. Torrential water plummets down from the jagged openings in the old walls above, churned by their passage through the ancient tunnels. A cool mist brushes your face, smelling faintly of dust and decay. What have we got here? A bronze dagger and some metals. Okay. Got a person Tycho here.
Do we have time to do a survey of the flora? For research purposes, of course.
I'm sure, of course. Fatebinder. She bows deeply. Welcome to the Wounds Farm, the only source of food within the old walls. Bet you never imagined anything like this down here, did you? You look like you've got questions in need of answers. You run this farm? That I do. Have since shortly after we arrived here. I may have been a mercenary up top, but down here I've developed into quite the farmhand. I turn the soil, haul up fertilizer, even sing to the plants. I've near grown to love this farm like it's my own child. Except unlike a child, the farm feeds me. There's a Soviet Russia joke in there somewhere. This farm feeds the whole community. Near enough. Gwyneth gathers some stuff from topside on occasion, but most people get their food from here. We got a whole host of vegetables, and the mushrooms down here turned out to be tastier than anything grown in shit has any right to be. Got pigs, too, for the occasional feast day. I keep everything orderly and efficient. One slip-up and we're talking months on tight rations at best. These crops can be real particular about the kind of water they like. Give them too much, too little, the wrong kind. Next thing you know, they're limp and brown. Is it normal for plants to be so picky about their water? Well, every plant is different, but the water situation down here is real touchy. Jaspos' filters work for the topside plants, since it's more or less what they're used to. Those stone jugs of his get rid of whatever makes people sick, while keeping in the nutrients my veggies need. Give that water to the mushrooms, though, and they stop glowing. Then they shrivel up, no good for anything. No idea why. I figured the topside nutrients kill them. Wagstaff's water is about as pure as it gets, though, and the mushrooms take to it just fine. Interesting. So, Wagstaff's water works fine for the mushrooms, but the mushrooms that get the water from Jaspos don't do well. I'll talk to you later. I feel like that's something important to know. Chard, nashroot, charlock, and tubers all flourish in this noisome soil, despite growing deep within the old walls. Howdy, Fatebinder. To be honest, I didn't expect a courtly type like you to show up in this piss hole. Would have thought you'd have better things to do than check up on a few wilting greens growing in beast shit. What can I do for you? How did you end up in the wound? I came in, 2 years back? With the Freeblade Marauders. Been in the wound ever since. Who or what is a Freeblade Marauder? Nothing but the finest of the many fine mercenary groups out of the Free Cities. There's the Freeblades, the House of Broken Regents, a few others. Aren't the Bronze Brotherhood out of the Free Cities? The Brotherhood? Those fucking fucks can go fuck themselves. Especially that Ratterman, whatever his fucking name is. What a huge cock and crazy as a beast woman raised on batshit. One of these days he'll lose his head to one of his own people. You mark my fucking words. What do you do around the farm? Well, I used to have a patrol out in the ruins, keeping the entry free of any unwanted visitors with Hillstrider and her crew. About a year ago, though, my damn fool husband didn't pull out in time, and the wound found itself another mouth to feed. Of course, the worthless bastard went and got himself torn to pieces fighting Bane, so I'm up here tending crops, and letting my sword arm go to waste so the kid doesn't grow up an orphan. Don't get me wrong, he's a good kid for a babe. I'm just damn glad he's out of me. Tycho's got me on vegetable duty, which suits me just fine. Don't know if it's some post-pregnancy bullshit or something, but those creepy glowing mushrooms make me want to lose my lunch and dinner. She glances towards Tycho. She's been hovering more than usual as of late, like she thinks I'm slacking off. Okay. Farewell, then. Let's continue looking around here. Some loot there. An iron Qatar there. Ocean's Fury. Also something here. Faint illumination from the sky above limns the jagged edges of the fractured old walls overhead. Far below, you can make out the flickering dots of torchlight marking the wound community. Smooth blue fur frames this massive beast woman's flat face, her blunt snout wrinkling as she sniffs at you. Her skin, in the spots where you can see it, glistens, almost pearlescent. Her upper lip curls back to expose dagger-sharp teeth. Human smells of sky mystic power, of lightning forks and howling rains, she snorts, yet looks small and frail like hairless whelp. For what does human disturb ocean's fury's prowling vigil? I've seen a lot of different beastmen here. How many tribes call the wound home? One and more than one. Like human tribes, but grown stronger in difference. One and more than one? What's that mean? One tribe called Woundkin hunts prey in Bastard's Wound. All beast women answer to Woundkin name. All did look to Reef Talon as prima before Reef Talon left into Old Walls. What tribes did they belong to before they all became Woundkin? Ocean's Fury and Reef Talon are Mantaborn, first among tribes. She draws herself up proudly and thumps a closed paw against her chest. Mantaborn hunt sea as swift as sharks. Range long coast from stalwart to seed. Rule ocean where humans bring no war. West Reavers have fur like rust. Range northern lands, highest tier. Not many days from wound, towards sunset, where humans fear tread, yup. She seems to consider the tribe. West Reavers best hunters in grasslands. Good hunters in mountains. Poor hunters in sea salt. Stone stalkers small, but roam in large packs.
Strong mystics know the stone song of Earthblood. Good hunters in mountains. Not as good any other place. A few others stalk with Woundkin. Chases clouds and gloom of dawn Kantvana. Only few left.
What was that about the tribe's differences? Her eyes narrow slightly.
Each tribe knows its hunting grounds best. Manta-born best swimmers. Small stone stalkers climb quickest. Shadow hunters blend with night and stalk with cunning. Simple.
What do you mean by your prowling vigil?
Ocean's fury prowls Wound Farm. Hunts Bane with claws and fangs. Drives away trespassers with growls and knuckles.
She points out to the vast gulf to the north.
Old walls split down center like lightning-forked stump. Bane slip across gulf. Ocean's fury watches always.
I'll be going now. She snorts and nods. And we have someone named Kletos here. Okay. Ooh. Light bronze armor. Yeah. Seeing you approaching, he straightens up to see him a little taller.
Wasn't expecting a Fatebinder down here. Name's Kletos, protector of the farm.
He announces it like a title.
You may have heard of me.
I assure you we have not. Lantry skims through a few pages of notes.
Not at all.
So, you need me for something? Despite his armor, you can tell that he flexes his muscles. Eyes roaming him appreciatively, Ebb leans forward. I can think of some use for him if you're at a loss.
My life is service, he winks.
Tell me about yourself, Kletos, protector of the farm.
Sunder born and raised. Didn't have much growing up and the sea life wasn't for me, so I took up the blade. Been a warrior ever since. Ran with the House of Broken Regions before we ended up here.
What is the House of Broken Regions?
Surprised you haven't heard of us. We're the best bloody mercenary company out of the Free Cities, and don't let those motherless Freeblade marauders tell you different. We're the only crew to have bested those stalwart bastards, not that they'd ever admit it.
A sour expression briefly mars his features.
It's a, matter of Sunder pride. The city fought a bloody war for independence, and the terms of the treaty gave Sunder its independence from Stalwart in return for the public declaration that Stalwart did not lose so much as neither side won. And that's why I and the other children of Sunder smirk a little at the name Unbroken.
Ha! Oh, that's amusing. How do you protect the farm?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a fighter. A bloody good one, too. It's almost a shame to have me up here on the farm, so far from the Howling Bane.
Want me to ask Tycho to reassign you?
That would be kind of you, but that would leave the farm underguarded. Maybe if it gets too bad down there, sure, but the beastmen seem to have it handled. Claw for claw. Tycho has me looking after the mushrooms. She keeps a close eye on everything around here. Bit too close if you ask me, and she's quick to remind me when I cock something up. Used the wrong water on the mushrooms once, and she up and decked me.
Obviously, I would have blocked it. He chops the air with an open palm.
Or dodged it.
He jukes illustratively to the left.
If I'd thought anything like that was coming. Anyway, had a black eye for weeks. Not doing that again. No how, no way.
I must be going. And he watches you go. Okay, we have some pigs in here. Is there somewhere around here there's... Oh, that might be it. We'll take a look in a second, but wow. Little looks appealing about these rubbery, dung-scented mushrooms, yet the settlers of the Wound care for them as if they were the finest fruit. Let's see, this must be it. No. Iron throwing dagger, peridot, chalcedony. Oh, we can go around there. Somewhere around here has to be that thing we're supposed to be looking for. Isn't it? Hidden in the Bastards Wound farmed area, search the farm with Lantry present to find it. So it's got to be around here somewhere. But where?
Can't do that.
There's not many places that we can investigate here.
Sorry, I can't.
I mean, we found something hidden there, but that wasn't it. Anything to say, Tycho? No. It's got to be around here somewhere.
Cut the banter and
Oh,
stay
wait.
low.
There it is. Chronicle of the Sages. This chronicle was sitting here by Sage Lixim. Take the chronicle so Lantry may study it further.
Ah, the old concealed text in a pile of pig shit trick. Classic.
As Lantry approaches the corner of the pen, a pile of hay and animal droppings vanishes, replaced by a stash of scrolls.
Now here's a subject close to my heart. Histories of the School of Ink and Quill. Who doesn't love a little auto-chronicle? Roll calls, minutes, graduation announcements, publication dates, and letters! Oh my, I doubt Sages Corn and Ostrich had any idea their correspondences would be immortalized for the records. Now, the most exciting bit of history, but... Not the most exciting bit of history, but I can see why Mel and Lexime would want the words of colleagues close at hand. Lantry thumbs through the tome, chuckling with a nostalgic smile at each turn of the page. I take it this brings back memories. Indeed. Some of these notes even have my name on them. Ah, yes, here's my series on bird anatomy. I did that back in 388. Oh, where have the years gone?
Do those notes include the parts where you conspire to steal our magic? A slight cough escapes Lantry's lips, but he offers no reply aside from the turning of pages. Glares silently.
I know it's all so worthless in hindsight, but it is a record of our school, whatever that's worth. I can obsess about these later. We've other things to do, right?
We can pause. I'll look around while you have a read.
How can I say no to that order?
With a smug grin, the old sage dives into the texts. Several minutes pass as Lantry pores over the pages.
Strange. All these names of dead people.
Good riddance to some, others our loss. Kairos' loss. Anything seem incorrect?
Sage Ostrich's grammar is appalling, but no, not really. Sorry, no spells or great recipes for grappa. Just lectures, letters, and other sentimental detritus.
Anyone you know very well?
In a way, all of them. The school was never crowded enough to disappear into anonymity, but as a field scholar of sorts, I was as distant as it gets.
He shakes his head with a heavy sigh, lifting a quill from near his shoulder as he does. He puts the quill to his hand and scribbles several circles of sepia. Pick up one of the volumes and peruse. In this regard, Lantry was correct. Countless sheets of parchment, all of its social correspondences and academic text of plodding, boring detail. Look for writing out of place. You spot a page inked with a conspicuously glossy sheen, suggesting ink far fresher than the original writing. A minuscule crease along the binding hints at where this page was inserted, likely via magical means, to blend almost seamlessly. The text describes a debate between sages, discussing the riddle of rings, and one sage, with the familiar name of Lantry, is arguing that the riddle of rings posits that Kairos has already conquered the Tears. For if the sages speak the language of Kairos, Lantry reasons, and use the currency of Kairos, then military conquest is an extraneous formality. Odd, I learned the riddle of rings differently. Bronze first, iron last.
Oh, so you know the original. No disrespect to the Forge-bound, it's a great teaching tool. I just borrowed the term for rhetorical effect that day. It was 425, and Sage Cavell was giving a lecture series. having recently returned from his expedition to observe the Forgebound in their ways. At one point, he discussed their teaching methods, so the Riddle of Rings came up as part of his lecture. At the time, I joked that the real Riddle of Rings isn't aren't we already conquered, and I launched into a not entirely sober diatribe about Kyrus's inevitable invasion and dominion. According to this, I gave a stirring speech met with applause. Hardly. I was hit in the head with an old scroll case and told to sit down, shut up, and let the scholars talk.
You could correct the record.
I could, and I will. I'll make a note to return to this. Until I know why this was edited as such, I'd just assume not tamper further. I think my nostalgia has been overtaxed for the time being. Let's get moving. I need to think on this a bit.
Lantry closes the tome, stashing the old book in one of his satchels. Find the remaining chronicles. Once you have gained access to the lower sections of the Bastard Wound to Old Walls, continue your search for the chronicles. And I don't think that's access we'll be able to get, at least not in the near future. So I think we're basically done with what we can do here in the Old Walls. Here in the Bastard's Wound, I mean. So that said, this episode has also gone on about long enough. Next episode we'll leave the Old Walls, and I think we need to return back to our main location so that we can pick up another companion and so that we can go investigate Lethian's Crossing. But that'll be in the next episode, so until then, I am Chestic44, that is Jason Pendragon, Barrick, Lantry, and Ebb. This has been a Let's Play of Tyranny, and I shall see you all next time.